Hello, everyone. This is Becca Victoria. I am a clinical hypnotherapist, RTT practitioner, therapist, and TT practitioner, therapist, and coach. Welcome to Embodied Shift. Jonna and I explore real change where subconscious healing meets higher guidance. And please subscribe, and thank you for being with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonna. I'm an intuitive coach, and my work is about remembering who you are and trusting your inner knowing. And our question is, if everything we need is eventually provided for, what happens to relationships?
This is an intriguing topic, but very interesting indeed. So, if all our needs are met, security, money, safety, comfort, right? Do we still need each other? And if we don't need each other, what does love actually become, right? So that's a really, really interesting question. So from RTT and TT lens, most relationships are built on need and lack. Isn't it? I need you. I want you because this is I'm lacking of. We attract partners who feel a subconscious wound. So to answer that question, what's gonna happen to any relationship, really, especially romantic relationship. I would say that perhaps it's gonna help. Not not being in that relationship because I need you, because I want you to provide for me, because I'm lacking this and you're feeling that for me, right? Because a lot of relationship, they stay in that relationship because they cannot be by themselves. They cannot be by themselves because they're afraid of being alone. Again, going back to they have this subconscious wound that hasn't healed yet, that they think they need to be with somebody to fill that void, to feel that if I don't have someone, I'm nobody. No one cares about me. So I think for just personal opinion, it would be a lovely place, I think. If we're just, we don't have to worry about money, security, safety, or comfort, right? We can just have this life where we just focus on ourselves, giving more. I mean, spending more time with our loved ones, with our special ones. So I think that would be a wonderful world to live in. I will add more in a bit, but I would love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, the possibility because of AI and everything else for us to be provided for and to live abundantly is in the horizon. And it just makes you question on what happens to life next, on how your relationships would be like if that ever happens in our lifetime. So, like what you said, like we're in a relationship sometimes, maybe most of the times, to have someone complete us. And to be provided for. And I believe that one of the greatest reason for divorce is when people are having financial issues. And I think couples tend to really be in a relationship because of that aspect too, because it would be easier to survive because we're on that survival. If we're together, there's two incomes, we have kids, it's easier to have someone to help us with something. And if we take that away, how would that really look like, right? That we don't have to make decisions to be in a relationship just because of the roles, because of obligations, because of survival. So we're having an energetic change where I think even now people are more aware that what they're looking for in relationships, because our the structure of relationships now too have is different because women are more involved in their careers now than in the past. And so now we're looking for more alignment, a more emotional connection to actually be with us, to experience life in a meaningful way. So it's going to be a different way of being together. It's going to be more of a conscious choice of co-creating together, being wanting to be together, not because we have that limitations of obligations to be in this relationship, but we want to be here because we want to, because we're happy here.
So, would you choose, hypothetically, would you choose the same person if you didn't have to answer that if you if you don't want to? Would you
I
choose the
think
same person if it's was the situation, if we have this all these things that we don't have to worry about.
I think we're going to be able to show our true nature when that happens. And I just wish, and we're gonna create that. We're gonna fall in love with our. If we are in a relationship, then maybe with not having so much stress about always working because we have to pay the bills. Maybe we can now pay more attention to each other and get to know each other better.
Right.
That could be one situation that can happen, or we've known all along that we were not in the right relationship and we have been staying in a relationship for the wrong reasons.
Okay, when this time come
If
with
it ever comes, like when it comes.
or it will it or is it gonna come really or and what how many years are we talking about here?
It depends on what we're creating, consciously. If we ever get there, because the technology, if you're well versed and if you really follow it, it's so fast.
Yeah.
Things that are happening in technology right now, it's just multiplying so quickly, and we don't really know where it's gonna take us. It's scary, I understand, but we can actually just, because there's no stopping it, and we're all co-creating very consciously. It's gonna be like when computer first started, or cell phones. Some people knew that there were gonna be disadvantages because now people are more in their phone. They're not really connecting to each other anymore. There's like social media, so there's good things and bad things. But now it's so convenient to be connecting to a loved one who's overseas and be able to see them, especially if they're sick. Like there's so much good about technology too. And now we can't live without our computers. We can't live without our phones. Life is really about evolving, and the way that we create and the way that we shape it is how are we going to be in it? How are we going to contribute? How are we going to use it?
Right. So, do you think, okay, for some people who hasn't done any work on themselves, right, and they have trauma, they have past experiences that they become who they are today because of that, right? Would it is it gonna change, you think? You think their relationship become purer with their loved ones, or if they're not in a relationship? I was just, curious to know if without these other things that they have to worry about, right? Do you think is something's gonna change with them even without working on themselves?
My hope is when we don't have this stress anymore of paying the bills, trying to survive, wanting to feed our family, if that's no longer in our, head all the time, if we worry so much of that constantly that we can't even spend time with ourselves. And that is the problem right now, because it's hard to deal with your own trauma, with traumas or whatever it is that's bothering you, if you're always worried about paying the bills, because it's hard to find time for yourself. So my hope really is because it could go either way, but my hope is when we have so much more time in our life, that we can go within and we could really open our hearts more to getting to know us, getting to know our relationships with everybody. And us getting to know ourselves is also getting to know what we want in life and what we want to create in life. So if you want to create a better relationship, it might be with that person or it might not be with that person, because it really depends on each other's journey, how we are evolving.
So does that mean that we can just freely choose different partners now? It's like, oh, I don't have to worry about anything else, just to have relationship with other people. Would that create like multiple partners at once?
That's a possibility too. Everybody has their own journey and everybody has their comfort level of what they want to experience in this lifetime or in any other lifetime. We now have open relationships.
Sure, yeah.
Some people thrive in open relationships, but you can only do that if you really have self-respect and really know yourself, that you don't have any insecurities and you're always coming from a space of love, because that is tough. To be human and have open relationships is really tough, because you really have to be very grounded and you have to have a partner who shares the same beliefs and who shares the same life journey.
Right.
So there's really nothing wrong or right on how you want to create your life. There's only something that's wrong and right for you, for that person, because everything is ever changing. Some people starts with traditional relationship, and then since it's not working, they go on open relationships, see how that works for them, and eventually they find someone that they just want to connect with, just that person. And it's all a decision based on what they need, on how they're evolving during that time. Because it's hard, because people say, oh, I'm good with that. You think you're good with that because it's something that you hear, it's something that people are doing, right? But if you just think that you are, and then you're in that open relationship and you don't know how to navigate how it really works, where you still feel like you're grounded and that you're still good person. If you ever have a judgment about open relationships and you're in an open relationship, that's not gonna make you feel good at all.
So what else do you think would happen if everything is provided for us?
I think it's gonna be a choice. Like it's gonna boil down into having a really meaningful relationship, because we can really make a choice on who we want to be with based on that connection that we want to have, not anything else. And then for each other, we could really provide that connection because we have the time for it.
I'm trying to imagine what would it look like having all those provided for us. Because so what is the purpose now for example, for both of us, right, as coaches, therapists, how it's gonna look like when when a lot of people are just free to do whatever, really, right? And are they even gonna care anymore about the pure connection, that genuine connection, right? Would they care?
I think in a soul level, we would want more of it, because now we will have time for it. We're going to crave it so much more, because there's no more meaning in life. We get our meaning in life from feeling useful, because we have work, we're able to provide for family. And that usefulness is important. So if you take away being useful, what are you now as a human being? So coaches are going to be needed so much more during this transition, because this is going to be a new way of life when it happens. We're going to be lost. We're going to have to navigate through all of this on how we're feeling about the changes.
Right.
But I really know it's going to take us towards a very meaningful life.
That's I think that would be that's really nice to hear, right? In this chaotic world that we're in. Yeah, it's still hard to imagine, but like you said, it'll come, right? So for since we're talking about relationship and the having this, or if it's gonna happen at all, is there any preparation that we have to do before it comes?
There are things that came that we weren't prepared for. Actually, a lot of things that happens in life is we're never really prepared for. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's really hard to like the preparation that we have to do is really going into that internal work of being compassionate, being just loving, going back to your core to love. That's like a daily way of preparing. But in terms of like really preparing, so when this happens, like we know, like we have all the answers, that's not gonna happen. The best preparation for me that I'm seeing and for people is to always be in a place of love. Because when that chaos, that confusion kicks in, when everything changes, when landscape changes, when you're suddenly feeling, I want out of a good relationship because now I feel like I want a better relationship because nothing is tying me down anymore. That's a lot to process, not just for the person who's feeling all these things, but the person that you're involved with at the same time, and they might not be feeling the same way. And so energetically, the way that we would really that we can prepare, whether this happens, this doesn't happen, the way that we can prepare for life is to be aware of our heart center, to always be in a place of love. Because if we are always in a place of love and understanding and compassion and kindness, then that helps us see the perspective of the other person. So the changes, the breakups, and if there are, then they would be easier. And then if there's a possibility of falling in love with someone more because you're already in a great relationship. And that's amazing too. I think I want to share that we always have to be conscious that we're always creating our reality and we're always one as a consciousness. So we're also creating collectively. That's why it's very important that we all create from a space of love.
Creating collectively. For our viewers who does not know what that means, can you just have like a brief explanation about that?
Yes. So, what I mean by creating collectively is when we have high hopes or just we know that the world is going to be amazing. So, my energy is always affecting your energy because I'm connecting with you all the time. It's a bigger connection. And also, collectively, we're everybody animals, plants, Mother Earth, people. So, if I'm feeling negativities, that's also a part of what people are feeling. So that's what I mean by creating collectively. So if we're creating a collectively in love, then the whole vibration of the universe is going to be in love. Remember those meditations I've done meditations with a group of people where we would want to create something for the world, like world peace. And you would really feel the vibration and the frequency of how powerful that is. And so when also with energies like with the war that's going on at the moment, we are all feeling it, aren't we? Like, hasn't things been chaotic even in our personal lives lately? And that we always need to ground ourselves because we're all one as you know, of consciousness. That's why it's very important to remember that when you're able to go within in your heart, if you have these deep meditations, if you're able to go within, you'll know that it's not just you, that you're a part of a collective. You're a part of the whole consciousness and you're co-creating with everybody. That's why it's hard to have judgments if you know that, because we're all a part of each other, because that's more of a coming from that love aspect of things. I know it gets kind of complicated energetically.
Yeah, but yet, there's a lot of judgment around us, isn't it? I guess based from what you've said, it's a choice, isn't it? So in terms of relationships, I would just gonna share this to our viewers, listeners. True love only becomes possible when you've done the inner work, because only then you are choosing from wholeness rather than wounds. Whether this, it's beautiful to think that we don't have to worry about these things, the how we're gonna pay our bills, like you said, the safety in our environment, not to worry about the security, the comfort. So beautiful to just thinking about it, isn't it? But at the end of the day, like you said, to have that, to always, not always, but to be compassion, like you said, right, with other people. And after all, we're all one. We're I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh that I can try to remember. So we have this wave, right? If we have this wave, but that wave goes back to the ocean. So sometimes we're just feeling the wave, like just us, but then it's actually we're part of the ocean, so we're part of the whole, right? So I think it's like I said, it's beautiful to imagine without worrying about these things that affecting our relationship with other people. And if we get there, it would be so lovely if we already work on ourselves and just live in that beautiful world.
Yes, and we're always creating. So I encourage everybody to create on the energy of love. Either we get there or we don't get there. If we're creating from a space of love, life can be beautiful, like right now. It doesn't have to be in the future, just as long as we stay in that space of love.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for being with us today.
Until next time, everybody, and please do subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's all shift together.